Let me ask you a question. Do you remember the children's show, Timothy Goes to School? The show centers around a child raccoon named Timothy and his adventures in school. Despite the show only lasting for a total of only 26 episodes and having mixed critical reception, it developed such a cult following over the years. Following its cancellation, it's regularly repeated on channels like Tiny Pop. If you don't know what that channel is, well, count yourself lucky, my little duckling. Now, the funny thing is, well, as it's not seems to be really funny, but I actually used to work for Tiny Pop as a scriptwriter back in 2000 to 2002. Timothy Goes to School ended in October of 2001. But what a lot of people don't know is that there was a show that had indeed to be given a proper send-off. The official series finale would have been explore the character of Henry, the bus driver. Henry is a fat beaver who drives the kids to Hilltop School every day. It was scheduled to air very early on January 2002. Sadly, the head of Tiny Pop, Eddie Potts, scrapped the episode and he hated it. "It's bloody horrible," Eddie cried while leaving the viewing room. Poor old Eddie. No, actually, because Eddie was a horrible boss. One time at Christmas staff party, Eddie spiked a punch bowl with whiskey and was dancing on the roof until the sun went down in the Hash Bay Mountain. Okay, now moving on from the hatred towards Eddie Potts, I was doing some script writing as the script writers had tend to do. I went over to look at the photocopier, and when I saw a small disc inside sitting on top of the photocopier, I picked up the disc over and looked it over, and the disc was a blank disc, with the writing which read, Timothy Goes to School series finale. It was written in tomato sauce, or at least I certainly hoped it was tomato sauce, because it smelled more like Noah North's laundry basket, if you ask me. I was very interested in seeing the series finale of Timothy Goes to School, so I decided to my utmost wisdom that I would watch it. What a dumb mistake that was, let me tell you. I walked over to the laptop which I had been writing on and popped the disc into it. The disc made the laptop made horrifying sounds. It sounded like someone was throwing chicken into a wood chipper. Ever thought that? I know I have. Sorry about that. Now to the DVD. The DVD showed some commercials. I found this odd because the DVD was only intended to be seen by employees of Tiny Pop Studios, not to the general public. The commercials were weird. One commercial had the vegetable man dancing like a madman. Then he stopped and stared at the screen for an uncomfortable amount of time before saying, "Hello everybody, I'm the vegetable man. And for a small loan of $1 million, I can sing Take On Me." Suddenly, the screen cut to another commercial which had Ned Flanders from The Simpsons running some people over with his car. It was quite funny, actually. Actually, no, it wasn't. It made me sick. I vomited into my shoes. By the time the strangest commercial was to show Mr. Park squeezing an apple, and then another and another. He squeezed the entire box full. What a waste of apples. About 21 commercials later, the episode actually started with the theme song. It wasn't correct. For starters, Timothy's house looked a little bit like if it had been hit by a train. Timothy's mom and dad were replaced by Colonel Dodo and Henry, which couldn't drive the bus properly. He was driving the bus drunk or something, and then he was crashing into fences, mailboxes, and even crashed into Timothy's living room. Timothy didn't seem to notice as the doors of the bus opened. Henry didn't look so very happy to see Timothy and gave him the middle finger. I can't really blame Henry, to be honest with you. Anyways, the rest of the theme song played like normal, with Henry driving the kids to school. However, the person singing the lyrics at that point sounded incredibly nervous. He was consistently stuttering and repeating himself, "There's so much to do at school." The singer would sing. Yeah, I can imagine, but the entire song, also the theme song, ended with Henry crashing the bus into Hilltop School. The episode then started off with the title of the episode appearing on screen, and it read, "Henry Goes Crazy." The episode started with Henry waking up after his alarm clock went off, and he walked down to the kitchen to make himself a steamy cup of joe. "I'm losing the plot here," Henry muttered as he took a sip from his coffee. Henry's wife, or at least sometime I have assumed to be his wife, came down to give Henry a hug. It was Rilla Roo from Crash Bandicoot. He jumped into the air hugging Henry, and he jumped off so much to the point that he ended up crashing through the floor downwards the basement. The episode then cuts to the show where it shows Timothy getting ready for school. He looked out of his living room window and saw that the bus was pulling on the pavement. Once again, Timothy's parents were replaced by Colonel Dodo. "Be a good little sport there, Timothy," Colonel Dodo said before continuing with, "I need you to peek on the behavior for a big hunt this afternoon." Timothy hugged Colonel Dodo before her getting thrown out the window. Timothy then climbed onto the bus, but Henry didn't seem to acknowledge him. Henry drove the bus down to Lily's house. This is where things got weird, as if it wasn't weird before. Lily ran up to the bus doors to reveal Henry's smiley face. "Hi, Lily. You got all your pencils, 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 and pencils?" He went on like that for a good 2.5 minutes. Lily just looked dumbfounded and asked, should I get on the bus now, or pencils, 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 and scarf?" Henry finished as Lily awkwardly made her way onto the bus. "Time to go, Hushberry Mountain," Henry sang to himself as he began to drive towards Claude's house. Arriving at Claude's house, Claude was shown leaving the house with Grace by his side, as they both had a sleepover. Henry did end up running them over on his bus, killing them both instantly. What the heck is going on?" Lily cried. Lily, Timothy, Yoko, Doris, and the others then tried their best to get off the bus, but Henry was having none of it and slammed his foot right on the accelerator, causing them to fall to the floor. The Franks didn't notice, however, because they were stupid. They were both busy eating beans and toast. Henry continued driving the bus until they finally reached Hilltop School. He ended up driving and crashing into the bus on the playground. All the children ran off the bus and ran inside as Henry climbed out of the wreckage. Arriving at the classroom, Mrs. Jenkins announced to class that they'd be going on a field trip to a street corner where a man sells pirated DVDs. "I wouldn't recommend buying pirated DVDs. Buy a regular DVD so you can have a laugh and even steal some of those people in your movie are talking about the whales dying out. Sorry about that." So the episode then cuts to the show where the children reluctantly leaving the classroom. They tried to explain the morning's events to Mrs. Jenkins, but she was having none of it. "Quick sticks, children!" Mrs. Jenkins cried as all the children gathered outside the school to wait for the bus. The bus eventually pulled up and it was completely fixed. Henry was supplied with a new busy bus at the depot. The doors to the bus opened to show Henry drowning a bottle of wine. He looked at the guy and said, "I love me smelly wine." Miss Jenkins didn't seem to care that Henry was drinking on the job, so she made her way to the bus and the children followed behind her. Lily stopped on getting on the bus and Henry asked, "You got all your pencils, 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 pencils?" "Oh, not this again," Timothy cried as Lily ran onto the bus before Henry could go on any longer. Henry began driving the bus at an immense speed. The bus was swaying violently from left to right as Henry struggled to keep the damn thing on the road. Mrs. Jenkins didn't seem to notice as she was really busy reading the newspaper about ducks walking into the parking lots with guns and asking for bread. That's when Timothy and Yoko decided they both had enough. "We got to do something, Timothy," Yoko cried as Timothy responded with, "Yeah, but what can we do, Yoko? Henry's gone bananas." That's when Charles, of all the people, had an idea. "How about we press the stop button? We could pretend that one of us is going to be sick," Charles exclaimed at the top of his lungs. "That just might work," Timothy said as he stood up and pressed the stop button. The bus came to an abrupt halt as Henry got off from his seat and walked towards Timothy and Yoko. "Who pressed that stop button?" Henry said, but it did not sound like Henry. He sounded more harsh and crisp, like a packet of cheese and onion crisps. "It was me, Henry," Charles said while holding his tummy. Then he continued with this, "I need to get off the bus because I'm going to puke." "I got a better idea," said Henry as he slammed his foot on Charles, crushing him to death in the process. "What the hell did you do that for, Henry?" Nora cried as Henry yelled, "No swearing on the bus, child." Then he grabbed Nora and proceeded to throw her out the window. The episode then cut to a brief clip of Michael Caine crying before asking, "What have I done?" He was sitting on the sofa with Prince Charming, who said, "It was charming to be with you." But then it cut to the vegetable man again, who was out of the vegetable costume for once, and then he also looked at the paper miserable, like of some kind of Mr. Parks. "Brother, have you seen my vegetables? I think I left them in Brandon's house. I hate Brandon, and he is a bloody, smelly piece of crap," the vegetable man asked before he began laughing a sinister laugh as the episode came back to normal. The episode then came back to the show, and it was showing Henry still driving the bus like a madman. He had driven the bus onto a freeway "We gotta take control of this bus," Fritz said as Timothy asked, "But how?" "Franks and beans," the two Franks said, who were busy eating baked beans with Frank 1, now who deserves to be killed. Yoko, meanwhile, was busy looking out the window to see if someone could save him. She eventually saw an Indian man driving a truck and who was riding alongside the bus. Yoko taped her paw onto the window and wrote the words "help" on it by using a permanent marker. "Oh, no, you didn't," the man cried as he slammed his truck into Henry's bus. "You see the words that were upside down to Indian, it wrote help, but it came sleep. Sleep. Leap was the name of the goat that which plagues the man's stock back when he was selling lawnmowers to people in India. This is why it ignited such a violent reflection on the man." Henry responded with ramming them at them, giving the man's one truck a fatal hit, which caused them to cruise right off into a freeway ditch. "Good riddance," Henry muttered as he continued driving the bus. As if nothing happened, he continued to drive down the freeway and opened up his window to allow some salty sea in the air in the bus. Fritz then drove over to the bus and then only the window, only to get whacked across the face by Henry. "You want to go outside for some fresh air, do you, punk?" Henry asked before throwing Fritz out the window. "Anyone else?" Henry asked as everyone was crying over the loss of their friends. Even Doris cried, which is very out of character for her. "Well, that's what I think, anyway." Upon getting the freeway, Henry began speeding towards the bus depot. He crashed into some depot, killing all the bus drivers in the process, including Stan Butler, who was just about to head home. He was lucky at the end, although his mother and his sister cooked him a smelly fry-up. I mean, I suppose proper smelly, but it was greasier and nastier. "Sorry if I had to put you for that lunch, to be honest. I really don't care if it did or not. Anyways, Inspector Blakely, the owner of the depot, climbed into the window and said, "Henry, you're fired." "Fired?" Henry asked. Blakely replied with, "Yes, Henry, fired. You've killed and endangered God knows how many lives within your recklessness. Face it, Henry, you lost it completely." Timothy and the rest of the gang were allowed to be off the bus, but while Henry and Mrs. Jenkins were taken downtown by the cops just to see what happened to Sam and Max, Henry was sent to the local mental hospital where the front of the guard, Gordy, keeps a bear as a pet. As we have always established, you have been reading the Bruno Notagala Oliver Charles Funny Pasta Guide. It's quite a read, I say. It's about 45 pins. So, Nick, if it were to you. Meanwhile, Mrs. Jenkins was given life in prison for her careless nature, and when she was easily could have been put up to stop to Henry's zany antics and fired him sooner. During the interrogation, Mrs. Jenkins revealed that she had been talking to an advantage of Henry's recent insanity to get rid of her students alongside of that since she was grown up and tired of teaching children. She wanted to teach at a high school, but those people at the school board said, "F you, Miss J." She was assigned to only teach Timothy and her friends. So when she noticed Henry losing his blot, so she decided to use that as to advantage. That is one sarcastic fox. With Miss Jenkins gone, Timothy's class was given a new teacher, that being Miss Appleberry. Meanwhile, the children got a new bus driver who was just Hagrid without a beard. "You're a wizard, Timothy," Hagrid would say every morning as the children made their way onto the bus. I think everyone rested a little easier knowing that Henry was no longer a threat to them. With that, the episode ended with no credits, including the cutting to a sick clip that was a man with a potato sack over his head. He was holding a chainsaw and yelled, "Ah!" He charged at the screen, but of course I slammed the laptop lid down as I heard noises coming from across the room. Something was coming to get me. I grabbed my handgun, which allowed me to have it work for some reason. Then I proceeded to throw it onto my suitcase, and I began making my way downstairs. The writer's office was now on top of the building, so I tried using the elevator to find a way, but it was out of order. I ran down the stairs as fast as I could. I eventually reached to the exit and darted towards the parking lot towards a small forest area. I could hear grunting and running noises coming from behind me. I crawled through the forest and hid behind an oak tree. I could see something crawling beside me. I turned around to see there was none other than Henry himself crawling towards me. I grabbed my handgun and shot 5 times in the chest, but it had no effect. Henry opened his mouth. His buck teeth were sharp as knives, and he roared a mighty roar, and then he said in a demonic voice, You got all your pencils? No, I cried as I attempt to escape on foot. This ended up me proving a little futile as I tripped on a twig, and Henry leaped onto me and proceeded to enjoy his next meal. After he was done, Henry rose up from my rotten corpse and said, "I could really use some cheese." As I lay there in the rotten forest onto the floor, I have to say, there is a reason why some lost episodes are lost. The creatures are like demons, Henry. This is why I remembered something. The day that I was first viewing the episode, Eddie Potts was missing. He hasn't been seen since, and if only I know the true reason behind the disappearance, maybe then I wouldn't have been so foolish. Oh, okay. Matthew Bumford, I have to say, you did an awesome job with this pasta. I honestly said this was funny. Oh my goodness. Oh man, this story was just amazing. And you know, the fact that who was it? Oh yeah, that Henry would go this nuts. Oh man, that is just amazing. Now, I did try to find another Timothy Goes to School creepypasta. Besides Timothy's Bad Week being a good one, this one is actually a really good pasta too. Now, I did stifle a few laughs partway through it because it was just how silly it was. Oh man, this was just amazing, and I could definitely say you did pretty good with this story, and I can definitely really say you did pretty good with the story. And that is something I'm definitely going to say. The story was funny, and I can definitely say there was a lot of great time and effort put into it, so it was one of the reasons why I love this story. Now, to be completely honest, I honestly love this story, and I honestly have to say that this story was actually really good. Now, the fact that it was Timothy Goes to School and the ending, the ending that says I could go for a cheese, I could actually say right now, for those who don't know where he got that from, if you looked at Patrick something, which I can't remember his last name, but he had a video of Ronald McDonald, chasing the person for the woods and that. So, if I could find the video, I could probably maybe leave a link down in the description below, or maybe even pin the comment if I could find it. But if I do find the story, I will let you know. But it's hard to say. I'll try to see if I can, link the story down. Or if you guys want to, link it down here, you're more than welcome to link it down here if you want. But yeah, anyways, I could definitely say the story itself was absolutely amazing, and I did spot maybe a few grammar errors, just very few of them, so it's kind of why I had a little trouble of reading it. But other than that, this story was just flat out amazing. I can definitely say that. Now, I don't remember seeing Timothy Goes to School. I might have saw it when I was a kid a long time ago, but I honestly don't remember watching the show. I must have saw it when I was really little, and I can definitely say I haven't seen this show in a long time, but, maybe one day I'll get a chance to watch it again, even though I haven't seen this show in years. I can definitely say it was amazing. It was really amazing. And, to be completely honest, I honestly found this pasta to be flat out funny. It was amazing. The grammar was really good, even though I did spot a few grammar errors, but the grammar is really readable and really good. The sentence structuring was really good, and I can definitely say the concept was flat out awesome. The storyline of how the episode went out was good. And the paragraph structuring and the concept, the flow of it was just flat out amazing. Matthew Bumford, you do know how to make a really good story, and I can definitely say you do know how to make a good story. So I'm hoping you can make more stories like this, and I would really love to see that. Okay. Oh man, I have to say this story had a lot of time and effort put into it, and there was definitely a lot of effort put into the story. And this is what kind of bothers me, is that most creepypastas that I saw now these days on Goshia are not as good as I used to know. Well, even though there are some better ones that have the grammar slightly more readable, but it's just flat out cliche madness. We can all agree that Goshia Wiki is completely garbage. Okay. Now, I kind of explained what I liked about this episode. I don't see anything negative to say about it, so there's nothing negative to say about it. So I can definitely say right now that this story was actually really good, and there's a lot of great concept to it. Now, I could definitely see, maybe Henry going all this crazy, and I can understand why, kids shows would not make an episode like this, but I could definitely say this episode was pretty good, in my opinion. Now, I'm going to say this right now, just to wrap up the review. This is simply my own personal opinion, and if you disagree with me, that's fine too. We're all entitled to our own opinions regards to these creepypastas, or funny pastas in this case, and this is simply my own personal thoughts. My final rating of this pasta would have to be a 10 out of 10. It's really funny. The storyline was awesome. The grammar's good, even though I did spot a few grammar errors. But other than that, everything about it was just flat out amazing. And this is how you make a really good troll pasta, people. Even though there might be some bad ones I've seen in the past, this one does pretty good. Okay. But I guess I kind of, wrapped up the review, and, I'm gone as long as I can. But yeah, anyways, what did y'all think about this, what do you think about this, funny pasta? Did you all enjoy it? Did you not? Also, what would you have done personally to help make this, story a lot better? Leave me know what your thoughts are down in the comments section down below. I'm the Queen of Lions. Thank you so much for watching today's episode. And if you're brand new here to this channel, be sure to like, comment, subscribe, because I make brand new videos every single day. Don't forget to ring the notification bell to when I upload so you guys won't miss an upload or an update. And I will be seeing you all in the next video. Peace out, and I'll see you all next time.